Hi, everyone. I have Zach Allman and Tracy here from Apex Payment Solutions, one of our longtime affiliate partners. However, we haven't really done a lot of promoting for them since all of you guys already starting to use them without me promoting them. So I thought maybe we can have on this Friday a little conversation to talk about their company and basically what they can do for us. I feel like it's a great platform and everyone can benefit from it. Not just their fees being very reasonable, but all the features they have. Hey, Zach, why don't you introduce yourself? Zach is a dentist and is a member of our group, actually. Yep. Zach, introduce yourself and tell us about how you came up about this idea.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Zach Allman. I'm one of the co-founders of Apex Payment Solutions. I also own my own private practice with a partner and practice still 3 days a week, still wet-handed dentistry. And Apex actually came about through the purchase of that practice back in 2013, when we really, we bought the practice and we're like, oh, crud. How are we going to make these monthly payments to the bank? We have to really drill down the overhead. The office that we took over was operating at like a 75, 77% overhead. It was a well-established practice. The doctors were just a little bit older and had stopped really looking at their processes. So I just kind of, being a numbers guy, I kind of started looking into it. And one of the areas that I saw as a low hurdle to decrease my overhead was merchant services. And the way it came about was everybody that I reached out to said they could beat the other guy, even without seeing my numbers. And so I just thought, there's got to be a better way to do this, and there's got to be a basement here. So what I did is I partnered with a good friend that I had from my days in the military and ran his merchant services company in my office and said, hey, is there any reason why this can't work in dentistry? And so for the next 3 years, we basically beta tested through my office and partnered with a company to really bring a platform that was beneficial to dental offices. So, at the end of the day, everybody wants to save money, right? We all want a lower overhead, more money in our pocket. But what we've realized through the years is that functionality, features, and customer service is really what people are craving within the dental industry. And if you provide all three of those at a fair rate, that is still saving money, then it really removes the barriers to switching over and keeping our clients long-term. So we're pretty proud of our retention rate. We're above 95% of a 2-year retention rate on our client base, which is unheard of in the merchant services industry. And a lot of that ties back into the value that we bring into the offices with the platform. But at the end of the day, it's our customer service. We're ultra responsive. Over 70% of our team has actually worked in the dental office in some capacity, either as a dentist, like me, at the front desk, or as an office manager. And we continually grow that culture, that dental-focused culture within our team, and making sure that everybody can feel the pain points that are found by dentists and dental team members, so we can help circumvent those pain points, or at least resolve them as quickly as possible.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. And I can even talk about my own experience is that, when you're in business, you try to cut costs as much as you can hopefully from non-essential areas. And a credit card transaction fee was one of the ones that I continuously looked at. And at some point I was paying around 5% when I was promised 1.7%. The guy walked into my office, sold me, I can beat everybody, just like what you said. And then I kind of never checked it. Today, I have one person in my office check every month. All the sales, all the fees, give me a percentage. If it's over 2.4, call me. If not, go to the next month. And it's between 1.7 and 2.2, and I'm happy with it. But the reason I bring that up, I'm not really looking to do the cheapest anymore. I want to, with today's difficult environment and operating a practice with PPOs, with all these things, we are looking for features. And that's why Apex was brought to my attention by another colleague, and that's how we started talking a year ago. The features are really important, and I think Taylor can kind of help us out with that. Taylor, do you have a demo going?
Yeah, I can go ahead and get that started.
I'm gonna make you a host, and then at the end you can make me host again. So this way you can share your screen.
Okay, perfect.
There you go.
Okay. And then Zach, if you want to chime in
Sure.
throughout
Well,
and kind of
Taylor,
share how you use it too. Oh, go ahead.
Well, what I'd like Taylor to do, because she's kind of the expert at the platform and walking through it, is to go over each of the features, and then I'll chime in as to how we use it in my practice to increase our case acceptance and our collections.
Okay, perfect. That sounds great. So here on the dashboard, this is really just the 30,000 foot overview of all of the office's recent funding events. So you'll see those listed out here. And then right below that, you'll see the funding trends. So you're able to see a real-time view of everything going on in the office. And then Zach, I know, do you want me to talk about this part, how you use it in your office?
It's completely customizable. You can see the last 90 days, last 150 days. Go ahead and do the 150-day view. And what we've done historically, it disappeared. But what we've done historically with our office is that we did use this initially to figure out what are our busiest days. When do we need to be staffed up? When can we staff down? What are our most efficient times and days in the offices? So, and we kind of utilize that.
Sorry, I'm
the demo disappear there?
Yeah, it logged me out because I had it pulled up for too long.
We utilize this in our morning huddles when we're going over our last 5 days of funding. I will utilize it when I go over my end-of-day reports. And so I'm reconciling the batches, making sure that all the transactions have compiled in the dashboard. Especially when we're talking, and I know Taylor's going to talk a little bit about this, but the different ways that we can take payments through our platform, including a hosted payment page embedded into your website, automated payment plans, text to pay, everything funnels into this one funding cycle. So you're not having to look for this funding batch, this one over here. Everything from that day funnels into the same payment and is reconciled in our system with next day funding.
So let me ask you this here, what that word funding means. So basically, people who paid you with their credit cards, either on a text or a web, in the office, over the phone. Is that what you're basically talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so just like the money being deposited into the bank account.
I want to add something quickly here for people who are watching. We are going to get to the most important thing, is that their fees are a lot lower than what you're paying. So be patient, look at the features, but do know that they're offering all these features at a really, really good rate that kind of brought me to them. So go ahead, guys.
Perfect. This next tab is the My Account tab, where you'll be able to see all of the account information, and then also where you'll be able to see your PCI status. And this is really important because there's a lot of offices that do skip over this, and then merchant services companies will charge them an additional fee ranging anywhere from $29.95 all the way to, I think we've seen like a $79.95 fee that some offices were paying. And so we actually will walk the office through this questionnaire over the phone. It typically takes 10 minutes just to make it a really simplified process for them, one less thing for them to have to worry about.
And this feature is really important as a dentist, because I have historically delegated the PCI compliance to team members, and I know a lot of our colleagues do as well. PCI compliance can be an arduous task that takes hours to get through, getting on the phone with your IT company to say, oh, do I have this firewall in place, and this and that. What we've done is try to simplify and streamline that process for you. We actually do have a team that will walk you through your annual PCI compliance. And the nice thing is, once we complete this task for you for the first time, we set the system up so that that way it's a 5 to 15 minute process moving forward once a year, as opposed to going through the whole checklist every year and having to dedicate multiple hours to it. So we try to simplify it as much as we possibly can and show you through transparency whether you are compliant or not. And you can see, one of our accounts is compliant, one is not applicable. But if you're not compliant, you'll get that alert at the top. And where you currently see that green compliant, icon there, it will actually be an orange like triangle with an exclamation point in it. And you click on it, and it will take you directly to your PCI self-assessment questionnaire. So we kind of like walk you through it as quickly and easily as possible.
And for those who don't know what PCI is, they just pay the fee. It's basically security. It's credit cards companies' way of saying that, hey, if you're not securing your place and people are stealing credit card numbers from your systems, we're going to charge you. And if you're not going to do the PCI testing, it's kind of like insurance. You're paying a premium for being in an unsecure environment. And I got to tell you, mine is so easy because, and I don't know, Zach, you're not in the group that often. Security is my little pet peeve in the office. And I have so much security up that when I do my PCI, it gives me a thing, oh, you passed. It can be actually helpful for you to reevaluate your systems also. So it's not just a hindrance, but it also gives you hints that, hey, maybe I have a couple of computers that are not really secure.
And that's the whole point of the scans that run periodically, either monthly or quarterly. They're testing your firewalls. They're testing the security of your system to make sure that, yes, you are compliant, and yes, you do have the correct security measures in place. And it does. It just keeps your system more secure and allows you the peace of mind knowing that you're not at risk.
Right. So you guys are there to help us when we need to go through this process once a year.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Whereas other companies just kind of throw it in there and hope you don't complete the PCI compliance, so that way they can make more money. And like Taylor said, I've seen a $79.99 monthly fee for not being compliant. So you're basically paying an extra $80 to be less secure.
Yep, exactly.
And then the next tab here is the reporting tab. So this is where you'll have a list of all of the different reports. This first one is your transactions report. So it's where you'll be able to see a list of all of your transactions for the day. It will show you in real time the status. So whether the payment has gone through successfully, it'll show as captured. And then once it's actually been batched and sent to the bank to be funded, that's when it will show here as batched. And then it would show as processed as well, once you actually receive that money in your bank account. Over here.
This actually does.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Taylor. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then here under this date filter is where it's really easy to pull an end of day report. So you could go here to date and then current day, and that's going to show all of your transactions for the current day, the total amount. And this is where you can either just print the screen or you can export it into a CSV or an Excel file. And then one more thing, and then Zach, it's all you. In here, you can also click in to the transaction details where you can actually print receipts, email receipts, void transactions, or refund for full or partial amount.
Well, that's a really good feature. God forbid if one of the staff makes a mistake. Well, now we got to start calling the company. How did we refund? So that's just right there, right? With the little link.
Yep. Makes it easy for them. And then also, like you said, if there's an extra zero added, it's easy to void that so you don't accidentally charge them a little more than expected.
Exactly.
And Bob, as an added security feature, we can set up different users for the offices within the platform. So only you or the office manager has access to give refunds. It provides a little bit of an added security against embezzlement. So, but this, Taylor, and I am going to take it from here because this is one of my favorite screens within our platform. It allows me to have the ultimate control over what's going on in my practice. I can see, like Taylor said, in real time, are there refunds being ran? What cards are these going to? Did we take payments as recurring payments that came in overnight? Was there a website transaction? And what I do is I utilize this screen to, like I said, reconcile my end-of-day reports within Dentrix. But what we've actually helped people do is to identify embezzlement and fraud in their office. And very early on, I still use this. This is a story from 2018. We had a doctor that signed on, and about 3 months in, he's called us to say, hey, what are you doing? There's something wrong with your system. I keep having this same refund being ran once a month. And so we looked at it, and lo and behold, it was being run to the same card every month. And so I said, hey, why don't you go back to your old processor and try and pull your statements and refunds, see if they'll send them to you. Well, it took him like 30 days to get those reports. But what we found out was that and I can't actually remember the exact time frame now, but a front desk team member had been running refunds to her personal debit card once a month for, I believe it was 4 years. He never would have found it without our platform, because you can actually see in real time what type of transaction is being run and what card it's going to. And this all plays into the transparency. You have all of the information at your fingertips, and you can dive into it as deeply as you want to.
Zach, I know you tell that story. It's very interesting, because this story that you just told is a common way of front desk people do that. How do I know? My front desk person in 2016 was caught running a reloadable deposit, a debit card or a card, and she got caught when she got greedy. Otherwise, I had to wait a couple of months before I checked everything. But yes, this is very, very common, and having these tools at your command, it helps you look for these things. So yeah, it brought back some bad memories for me. But go ahead.
Zach, did
Sorry,
you?
But Bob, that's the thing. It happens to all of us. Like, when you let your guard down, that's when it's going to happen. And it's not necessarily, we're so busy in the office. I mean, especially now, not only seeing patients, but with PPE and trying to figure out, my lab costs, my supplies costs, everything, all the weight that we have on our shoulders, like this can easily slip through the cracks if you're not keeping a close eye on it, which is why I love this dashboard, because with a lot of merchant services companies, you're not getting a dashboard. You're getting a monthly statement, and that's it. And sometimes it's only a 1 to 2 page statement that doesn't give you details. And so how are we supposed to be good stewards of our businesses if we don't actually dive into the data?
And then Zach, do you want to talk about the other reports, or do you want me to just briefly go through those?
We could really get in the weeds here, but like what I like to show is go ahead and click on the statements tab. So the other nice feature is you have all of your statements at your fingertips to download. So you don't have to call into a 1-800 number or send smoke signals or send a fax and wait for a fax to come back. Everything is downloadable and at your fingertips. So you can just, Bob, you don't even, you have that one person to look at your statements every month. They just go into the dashboard, print it off, and look at it. It takes 5 minutes, if that.
Exactly.
Yep. And then you can look into if you get a chargeback or if you get some funding issues. All of that information is at your fingertips, and you can click into it. Go ahead and click into the 11.9 one there. And so you can see all of the transactions that took place. And so this is what I use when I'm looking at my end-of-day reports. And I do that the next morning when I first get into the office. Is I go through each transaction and I say, okay, Mrs. Smith came in and had an MOD composite. She paid $175 on her card. Let's make sure that transaction is there. Yep, we're good. And so, and it takes me 5 minutes to do.
Perfect. The next tab here is the virtual terminal. So this can be used for even if a patient calls in over the phone to make a payment, or if they had like an insurance remit payment they needed to do in the office. And so what's nice about this, and what it's a little bit different than entering it in on a normal terminal, is that you can actually put in the billing address number and the zip code. And that allows you to essentially make the transaction more secure and help you to reduce your fees, because the interchange rates for card not present when they're not physically used are a little bit higher than if the card's physically used in the office.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt a little bit. And that's really, really important because us dentists don't understand any of this. That for you to have an address line in there can literally mean 1%, correct?
Typically, it's more like 0.5, but I mean, there could be some that are out there. There's, 150.
Trust me, for me, it was 1.2%, and they jacked me up all the way to like 5% whenever we just punched in the numbers without putting the notice in. Now, this is also really...
So that gets into the pricing structure that you're on, where they promise 1.7, but then they really charge you 3.5 plus the fees plus this. So that's called a tiered system. It's dishonest. If you're on it, I don't care if you use Apex or not. If you're on a tiered processing system, you either need to switch or you need to call your provider and say, get me off the tiered system, put me on Interchange Plus, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Also, this is a very nice feature. Post-pandemic, we all work from home. And I had a front desk person who had a baby and wanted to stay home. And I said, no problem. Here is a computer, and they can literally use this to take payments, right? Is this a feature that they can do?
Yep, that's correct.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And what we do in my office, and I'll just kind of hijack this, Taylor. Once you put in the card information, it gets encrypted as a token. So what that means is it is stored as an encrypted token on our cloud-based platform. So if you're not actually storing credit card information locally on your system. And when I first took over my office, Bob, you shared a little bit of vulnerability. My front desk office manager had credit card stored on a Rolodex. And she would come in, and on a Friday when we weren't seeing patients, I'd have to pay her $35 an hour. And she would come in and make calls to authorize payments on this Rolodex. And so not only was I paying a higher fee because she was just punching the credit card numbers into the terminal, I was also paying her hourly rate. And if somebody just walked in the door and swiped that Rolodex, I would have been screwed.
Yep.
And I think there's still offices out there that are storing it on like paper files in a locked cabinet. And that's, it puts you at risk too. So it might not be a Rolodex anymore, but even the stored files in a cabinet can be very risky just to the office. So
absolutely. Well, anytime you're storing credit card information on site, it's a bad idea. Absolutely a bad idea. You need to store it as in an encrypted vault like our platform, or don't store it at all.
Yep.
So what's nice about this too is if, let's say, there are patients that make payments and they call in frequently, you can store their card on file and then search for it. It would automatically populate all of this stored information for you. And then you would just need to type in the dollar amount and click process payment down here. Okay. You can keep 2 cards on file too, and we can talk about that in regards to the billing plans.
Mm-hmm.
And so
this is a really nice feature that we have. It allows us, Taylor, go ahead. While I'm talking, why don't you go ahead and create a new billing plan? So I utilize this in my office for any high dollar treatments. We're talking implants, Invisalign, cosmetic work, or sleep apnea appliances. And the reason we utilize this is because I don't want to pay third-party financing fees of 10 to 15%. We're already, in a lot of cases, discounting the work because they're in network with, Delta or Blue Cross Blue Shield or Cigna or something like that. Why would we give them an additional? We're basically taking a haircut to allow these patients to finance it at no cost to them. So what I do in my office is we are the bank. I offer no interest financing. Depending on the terms of the treatment. So if I have an Invisalign case that's going to last, let's say 12 months, then I will allow them to break up their payments. Let's say, okay, Taylor, put in my Invisalign fee is $5,600. And we're going to break it up over 12 months. Let me do that.
I'm gonna I had to do the math, sorry.
So, and you basically break it down based off of the length of treatment, and then we create these billing plans, and it runs automatically. And the reason that I am comfortable and secure being the bank for these treatments is they aren't going to skip a payment because they're not going to get their next set of trays, or they're not going to skip a payment because then they're not going to get the implant restoration, right? So in any treatment form that I have a confidence that I am going to have a captive audience, I'll create a payment plan. And generally what I'll do is I will require either 25% down or the lab cost. So that way I know I'm not going to be out any money if they do skip time. And so with Invisalign, whether it's an Invisalign Lite, Invisalign Full, and Bob, I know your feelings on Invisalign and the iTero, but in my office it works. And so what I do is I just say, okay, if it's an Invisalign Lite, you're going to pay the $1,250 lab fee up front, and then we're going to break the rest of the payments up into 8 months of payments. And that just lowers those hurdles and thresholds to get the patients into treatment, into saying yes. And that's, utilizing this system has been one of the ways that we've really increased our case acceptance in the office. It also gives our patients multiple ways to pay. So, it's just a win-win for the office. We avoid the finance charges. We get the yes to the treatment. We increase our collections, allows us to buy more toys, to do more dentistry, things like that.
And it's important to kind of mention here is that the sentence you used, interest-free, because once you start charging interest, you become a true bank and you have to stick with the rules and regulations of your state. So we're not talking about financing. This is just a convenience payment plan we set up for the members, for the patients, basically. Yes.
And Taylor, what I want you to do is go ahead, change that amount from 6650 to 500. And you'll notice on the right hand of the screen, it automatically updates the billing preview. So you can make this changes on the fly. Let's say the patient's like, oh, you know what? I can actually afford $600 a month. Can we do that? You update the plan, and boom, it's already calculated out, and you can actually see the next scheduled payments. And it's completely customizable. You can do it. So Taylor, go up to the bill every. So we have some times where you either want to bill once every 3 months, or once every 6 months, or once a year, or once every other week. It's completely customizable. And so I actually use this for my in-office membership plans as well. Right. Because what I do is I
wanted to ask you, that this can be set up for any kind of plans, and not just orthodontic treatment, but implants and membership plan, right? If somebody wants to pay $30 a month for 12 months, that's how you do it, right?
Yep. And so what we do is if a patient wants to sign up for a membership plan that includes their 2 pro fees, x-rays, fluoride, everything for the year, I'll say you have 2 options. You can pay $400 upfront, or you can pay a monthly fee of $40. So they're basically getting a 20% discount by paying upfront. But what we do is, so where it says the until date, we leave that as canceled, and it automatically renews them into the membership plan every year. That keeps your patients a captive audience.
And this is really, again, one of the things that I thought we should discuss is that there are companies that charge you to do this. In other words, they set this up for you, and you pay part of that money you collect to them, which this, with paying you guys one monthly fee, and you get the processing fee and your statements and all that stuff, you can get this as well, which is a really good feature.
Then Zach, do you want to talk, I guess you already covered the in-office financing piece too, just for larger treatment amounts, how you'll collect the 25%, and then you could spread it out across just between 3 and 6 months. That's the sweet spot, right?
It depends on the amount. There's a little bit of a science to it. I don't like to create payment plans for less than $75 a month, because if they can't afford $75 a month, then they really shouldn't be getting the treatment. I also like to keep my monthly payments below $1,000 a month. And there are extenuating circumstances for like an all-on-4, things like that. But if you can keep it less than a car payment, it's a different mentality. You know, patients, like, they're used to, okay, my car payment's $800 a month. This is just another car payment. But if, you know, let's say you're doing a full mouth rehab and you're going to charge $40,000 for it. You know, we charge the 25% down. It's either 25% down or the lab fee, whichever is greater. So you're looking at, you know, $10,000. So that they have to come up with a pretty big chunk of change there. But then they have a $30,000 remaining balance. Well, I'm going to spread that out. I'll allow them to spread that out up to 15 months. You know, I don't, because it is a pretty immediate, it is a pretty immediate result. You know, you're probably 2 to 3 months before treatment is complete on that. But I don't want to spread it out over 4 years, right? But I also don't expect them to come up with $10,000 a month every month for the next 3 months. You know, I want to give them accessibility to that care because we know we've covered our costs with the lab fees. And so anything on top of that is money in our pocket, right?
Gotcha.
Right. And then for all of those scheduled payment plans, you can always, like Zach alluded, you can click into them to change the card on file. You can add a new card if you want to have 2 cards on file. And then you can also, like, if for some reason they needed to go in and cancel a specific payment, they could do that and add on another one for later on. And then they can also, if they were in the office and wanted to pay it while they were there, you could click pay now. And that's going to automatically run the card at that time, and rather than charging it on the 21st.
Excellent.
And then all of those transactions for those scheduled payments will be in the scheduled payments tab, where you would be able to see a list of all of the ones coming up. Also any that were failed or that had been paid, so that your team can easily go in and reconcile and post those into the patient's account in the practice management software, or they can reach back out to try to get another card number if the first payment didn't originally go through.
Gotcha.
And then the last tab is probably just this administration one, where I'd say the biggest thing is being able to set up these users. And so we talked about this a little bit with added security. You're able to create a unique user for each person going into the platform. And then this is where you can choose whether they're an admin or a standard. If you choose the standard employee, this is where you're able to choose exactly what they can and can't see or do on the online platform. So if you wanted them to be able to run refunds or void transactions, you could click those. And then also you have control on whether they can set up billing plans or see different reports as well.
Okay.
Really, the only piece that we haven't covered, I think, would be the hosted payment page. So if you could, Taylor, if you could go to, there we go. So we create this widget that embeds directly into your website. So it's just a line of code that we provide to your website developer. And when you click on it, it's a completely customizable screen. And what it does is, one, it gives the patient security knowing that they're making a payment through your website. But in actuality, what it does is it's hosted on our secure and encrypted platform. So you, the dental office, have the security knowing that we're hosting that payment. So if there's any card testing or anything that happens, because we are really in a season of fraud with online payments, right? We create security measures to make sure that the transactions that are being recorded are authentic. But all of these payments that take place on the website also funnel into those same batches as your in-office payments and your automated payment plans. So you're not having to look for separate statements or paying another set of monthly fees for this. It's all included in your service. And
this is also what marketing people stress, is that have all of these available for patients. Consultants are always saying, and give people choices that they can pay their bill. I love the text to bill. Do you guys also have QR codes and text to pay?
Yeah, so this link Yeah, this link can essentially be used in whatever way the office would like. A lot of offices now will create a QR code that the patients could easily scan in the office if they're in a treatment room, or they can also use it on their statements that they send out to patients on the bottom. They can text it too in a lot of different patient engagement platforms too, as well.
Excellent. So just take that link, and this is easily done on that website, or do you guys have to create it?
No, so so we create the payment page, but then this is actually the pay link that they'd be able to send out if they wanted to, and that would come in that initial email for the online payment page setup.
So what I'm
we
saying
just include it in my office.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Bob.
What I was going to say, is this automatically created for every account that signs up, or do they have to ask you?
We go through it as part of a training session. So if they want it, we'll get it set up right away. Some newer offices want to wait a couple months, and then we implement it a couple months when we check in down the road.
Excellent.
And some offices still don't have a website, so there's no need for it. But it is part of our standard onboarding procedure where we will establish it and set it up for them as part of their onboarding.
And one thing that I stress in sponsors and affiliates that I bring on to my group is that they all have to have great customer service. And I've heard a lot about you guys that when people need help, they're not transferred 6,000 times through different cities, and people pick up the phone and you basically get help.
Mm-hmm. We have 3 layers of support. Your first line of defense is always your direct client engagement specialist, the one that signs you up, the one that trains your office. They're always there for ongoing training and support as well. So let's say you hire a new office manager and they need to be brought up to speed. We provide ongoing training at no additional cost. And we also have a support team that can handle any of your needs. If a terminal goes down in the middle of the day, if you run out of paper, we'll troubleshoot that for you. And then we also have 24/7 support through the website. You can create a ticket that is trackable. We can actually see when the ticket was created, when it was responded to, and when it was resolved. So that allows us to track our metrics, but we typically will resolve any issues within 1 to 2 hours.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great.
And then one other thing that I was going to just kind of segue into is this online payment page can also be like the surcharge pricing can also be added onto here. And I know we said we wanted to discuss that as well.
Yeah. I'm not a huge fan of this concept, but I'm also observant enough to know that a lot of people are looking for that to cut costs for their business. And you go to restaurants, you go to different places, and you get these signs that there is a convenience fee for using your credit card these days. And you guys have that option as well for people, right? Yeah,
we do.
Yes.
I think one place that it's really helpful for the offices too is for those payment plans and this online payment page, because they are card not present transactions where the fees are a little bit higher. So this helps the office to totally mitigate that. And like you said, not every doctor is planning on wanting to, have the surcharge pricing, but there are quite a few that have started reaching out to us where they're really trying to reduce their fees. And the offices that have switched over, they're loving it. And they've been able to buy new equipment for the office, hire a new employee, and save like thousands and thousands of dollars a year. So it's starting to catch on, but totally understand the hesitancy.
So here's why I love our surcharging program, because it's just like dentistry. The surcharging program gives the patient options and they get to choose what's best for them, right? We normally will offer treatment plan A, treatment plan B, treatment plan C. With surcharging, they can either pay with cash or check and avoid fees completely. They can pay with a debit card and avoid fees completely, or they can pay with a credit card if they want their points and they have to pay the fee. So the hurdles are not really there, because it all depends on the scripting that you give your front desk. And if a patient balks at the service charge, say, I know credit card fees are out of control, but good news, we can actually take a debit card, cash or check, and completely avoid those fees. And the office does absorb those fees. But since a debit card is such a secure, cost-effective way of running a transaction, the effective rate for offices is below 1%. It's about 0.7 to 0.8% with taking those, the debit cards. And so if a patient wants, they're like, no, but I want to get my points. And you say, I know, I love getting points too, but I just know I have to pay for the points. Why would the office pay for the patient's points? And so of all of the offices that we've had switched to the surcharging model, none have switched back. But we do make it easy and convenient for the offices to do that. We completely remove all barriers to trying this system out. If an office wants to utilize the surcharging program, we actually provide a Clover free. There's no cost for it. Okay, the Clover is programmed to the surcharging program, and if after a month or 2 months they say, "Oh, we've got too many problems with this, too many patients don't like it," we switch it off and switch it back to our traditional low-cost processing. The only thing you have to do is you have to pay for the terminal at that point. But it allows you to try it before you buy it, kind of thing. But like I said, no office that has switched to the surcharging program has switched back.
Hey, Zach and Taylor, something just came up. A question came up for me. Can an office go without a terminal and just use a web-based?
They could. There's some offices that do that, but they'd have those higher interchange rates because Visa, MasterCard, and Discover would charge that card not present fee. If you did surcharge though, there's no reason that you couldn't do that though.
And as far as even if we put the address in, it'd still be higher than a swipe, right?
Yeah, it's typically 0.25% higher. So not huge, but if you're wanting to cut costs anywhere, that's
right.
Somewhere.
Right, and that kind of, unless you guys have something else to say, kind of brings me to the point of cost and the transparency of it, and these terminology that you guys use and know we don't. Basically, tiered system and interchange plus. Tiered meaning there are different kinds of credit cards, and based on what credit card that is, we pay a different fee, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So there's essentially 3 tiers or 3 buckets of rates where it's qualified, mid-qualified, and not qualified. And depending on the card, it could fall into any one of those buckets where they have basically a set rate for that specific type of card.
Yeah.
So you never know exactly what the interchange rate is or exactly what your fees are. It's kind of varies across there. So it's not as upfront as the interchange plus pricing model.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me. I mean, I was promised 1.7, 1.8%, and they tell me, oh, but you have a lot of reward cards. And I'm thinking, who uses a credit card without a reward? I mean, that's the going thing now. So what is this interchange plus?
Yes. Do you want me to go over it, Zach?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So interchange plus is essentially going to show you exactly what the interchange rate is or what Visa specifically would charge for that card. Visa alone has over 150 different interchange rates. So everyone I feel always asks, well, what's a normal interchange rate? They really can range anywhere from 0.5% all the way up to 2.75%. And so what we do is we basically just have a set markup that we charge that's standard across all of our offices, whether they are processing $10,000 a month or $200,000 a month, because we want all of our pricing to be standard across the board rather than, like Zach said, other companies that will just see how far they can hike up your pricing, getting away with it. And so you're able to see exactly what Apex is charging you versus the credit card companies with Interchange Plus. And that's why Zach chose this one to start the company with.
Now, when you say these interchange rates, again, you guys deal with this on a daily basis, so you understand. Dentists don't understand that. Why would Visa charge 0.5% and then come back and charge 2% for something else? Is that because of the risk of the person who is using it and maybe the rewards they're giving, or different? How does that work? What determines that rate?
So that's a good question. So it depends on the security of the transaction or the card. It depends on the level of the rewards of the card, and it depends on how the card is used. Okay. So when Taylor's talking like 0.5, the lowest interchange rate is really like 0.4. And that's for a PIN debit card. Okay. That's for your bare bones basic PIN debit card, no rewards. And it's because you have to physically have the card present, dip the card in, and input your PIN. So there's a high likelihood and a high level of security that you are the person who that card is assigned to, right? And then, you know, credit card companies don't offer rewards out of the goodness of their heart. They're passing that cost on to the merchant. Right. So the higher level of the rewards, the higher the interchange rate, because Visa's not going to cut into their profit margin, right? And then also, in addition to that, depending on how the transaction is made, if it's a card not present transaction, online transactions are going to have a higher interchange rate. Like, so let's say you have a credit card, a no rewards credit card that you use in the office. And let's just say that interchange rate is 1.675. If you use that same card, but you call in over the phone and you make a payment over the phone with just the card information, you know, that could be, you know, 2.4. Same card, but just the different level of security of the transaction. Right. But then say you input that third level of information, address, zip code, things like that, that might drop it down to 1.9. So, and they're all across the board. They are all out on the internet for you to see, and everybody, the interchange rates are transparent. They're just hard to kind of work your way through it. And there are hundreds of different interchange rates.
So you guys basically take that and you add your company's commission, which is nominal, and that becomes our rate, correct?
Yep.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a world that every dentist deals with, and I tell everyone, you know, risk has a price, and if you reduce the risk, you're gonna basically pay less. And also, we get a phone call on a weekly basis, as you said, you know, change. But my whole due diligence on your company was that everywhere I looked, people had good things to say about Apex, and I'm hoping that my members can also experience that and change. Don't pay these high fees, guys. Do you guys have anything else to add here?
I would just
just
go ahead, Zach.
I was just gonna piggyback on what you said, Bob. Like, our growth and our reputation is out there for everybody to see. Like, our growth has come because of word of mouth. We're not the slick marketing company that's going to try and sell you on something like, look over here while I'm doing this over here. Right. We're transparent with our rates. We're upfront. You know, there are issues that can arise within processing, just like, you know, treatment fails sometimes. What we do is we own it, we correct it, and we're honest about it. And so it is all about creating that relationship with the client. These are my colleagues. My name and my reputation is out there.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And Taylor, what were you going to say?
Taylor first.
I was just going to add that if any of your members are interested in looking into Apex, I know we have that form that they can fill out, and it is a really good time because we just started our Black Friday deal that runs from today actually until December 2nd. So you'll get a free terminal if you sign up between now and then. It is the one time of the year that we actually do this. And so I'll give you the information to share with them on that.
Yes. So I'm going to stress this again because we were supposed to talk about this. So usually they pay how much for the terminal?
The one that we're giving away for free is $299 normally.
So this is a $300 and then we did have some kind of a group deal for our members as well, right?
Yep. So we have special group pricing for your members as well that they'll get if they sign up.
Yeah, that'll be on our landing page that we have, and I'll put it in the post for this video. Great, guys. This was not just introducing you guys, but kind of educational. I think every business owner should know about these things, you know, because we get bombarded by all these advertising. So education is your best defense, basically, against all these scam artists out there. I wanted to thank you guys again for joining me. And hopefully we can do this another time when a new special comes out.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Great.
Thanks a lot, Bob.
Take care.